Good morning, everyone. Greetings from Germany. I was asked to give a quick kind of thought speech about the digital transformation and about what's actually going on right now in manufacturing space and also in other areas like the market demands that actually trigger manufacturing here for you. And so we have to deal with digital as best as we can. Now, my point here today will be about how much digital do we actually need and how much physical do we actually need. So how digital do we have to become in the years to come and also today to stay relevant in our businesses, and how physical should we stay also, because it's not everything about business and not everything about digital. There is a lot of physical important there are lots of physical things to stay, as we are physical beings, of course, and also we have physical businesses. So there's sometimes this tendency, like everyone is jumping on digital now, but there is a good reason why you want to be in this hybrid situation. And I'm going to run you through a little bit of these topics here. But before I would do that, I would like to tell you a quick story that has to do with the market. I don't know if you are aware of Wednesday. Wednesday is a series on Netflix, and Wednesday is actually the daughter of a quite strange family, which is called the Addams family, which was this is a kind of gothic family that was invented in 1938, so quite long ago, from a comic writer and sketcher, and his name was Addams actually. So he created this kind of fancy idea about a strange family, and it became quite popular. And then it kind of faded again. And then there was Netflix coming up with this idea of picking one of these people, the girl of this family, and creating a story around this. And she is called Wednesday. That's why the story is called Wednesday. And they created this story, which was unbelievably successful on Netflix. And there's one thing very interesting here, is that she is always wearing black and white. No matter what, the rest of the Tim Burton movie is colorful, but she is wearing black and white. And so it turned out to be a huge success on social media. And it also turned out to be a huge success for the fashion industry. And one of the brands that realized this very much, because they are tracking social media and TikTok activities really in milliseconds, is Shein. Shein is one of the fastest growing, super fast fashion brands on this planet. I wouldn't call it even a brand; it's a platform to distribute clothes. So it took them basically 48 hours to create a full range of black and white outfits and deliver them to their customers, So it was an unbelievable success for Shein, and it was one of the new phenomenons that we see nowadays, that you see trends popping up in a lightning speed, and you see companies reacting to that in a much faster way than it used to be. So the question is, how do companies actually work with this? How can you cope with these market demands? And you can ask yourself, why is this important after all? Well, there is a tendency of personalization and speed increase that we see everywhere nowadays. Everything gets personalized and even automized. You get emails where you think they are written for me, but in fact they are coming from a robot. It is just, they are crawling so many informations about you so that it is personalized in an automatic sense, so to say. So there's a huge tendency to personalize everything from the buying behavior, from the analytics part, from the managing part, from the manufacturing part, the advertisement and such. And artificial intelligence is helping a lot to do that, because it requires a lot of research to do that. But there is this tendency of speeding up and personalizing the processes, which is a big dilemma for mass manufacturers and manufacturing landscapes in general, and also for the management of that. And we have another trend which is quite impactful, and that is that we have more and more people going online. In 2025, we have an expected 5 billion people being online, and about 81% of them will be online in mobile connections. That poses a lot of threats for regular businesses, but also it puts a lot of pressure into marketing fields and business interactions, and also these people that we are going to see, they are connected in a very different way. While I started in 1993 to flirt with my first home computer, and at that time it was super slow and I had to wait for each and everything. The next generation of internet users will go online in lightning speed, and SpaceX, for example, is putting thousands of satellites into the air so that you have a high-speed internet connection no matter where you are. So it will not be a difference anymore if you are in Dhaka or in New York or in Bhutan, or I don't know, in a rural area somewhere in Middle Italy. It doesn't matter anymore. People will go online in gigabit speed. And that requires changes in the way how we address them, how we talk to these users, and how we also then produce for these people. And there's one thing that I learned from my own journey of transforming an organization from a lean organization into a digital lean organization. And that was that it is important to have everyone with you, that everyone in your organization understands what you do and why you do this. And there's a very interesting concept around this, which is from Raymond Loewy here, and it is called Maya. I found this by accident, but it so much resonated with me because it was exactly the belief that I also had when I was in Turkey and doing this transformation at the Hugo Boss factory in Izmir. And that was that you can only be successful if people understand what you actually do. And this Raymond Loewy here, he stated at that time that you should go Maya with your products or with your new software solutions or your transformations also, which means like you have to create something that is most advanced so that you can really move forward, yet acceptable. And that's a very important part in your journey. And I see so many software solutions and companies pitching software and hardware solutions to people in production and in manufacturing landscapes that is so over-engineered that their prospects don't understand it. And when implemented later, very often the return on investment is not coming. And it's not a surprise because you inject something heavily into an organization and the people just don't get it. I mean, only if I put a Ferrari in front of my house, that doesn't make me a race driver. It is way too far away from my abilities and my thoughts about transportation and mobility. So when you see the difference between successful implementations and transformations and not so successful, then this is a big topic here. And you may also think about your own life here, like where are you overwhelmed with something that is really not touching you, and that there's a high chance that it is not Maya, it is maybe not acceptable for you, or it is not advanced enough. So it's a very nice concept that he talked about this. And what I learned also with regards to digital transformations and such is that there's a heavy people thing. Now, what you see here is me sitting on a table in 1987 here, and I just won an award in national tailoring, bespoke tailoring, like handmade suits. And behind me, you see my master tailor at that time. I mean, he was my hero at that time because he was so smart, and he was such a brilliant tailor, and I learned so much from him. But at the same time, he was super traditional. I had the idea of doing something really strange, and you see this jacket on the in this picture here, and it had 56 centimeters width in the shoulders. And at that time, for me, in the late 80s, I wanted to go this way. And my master said, "You cannot do this." And I said, "Yeah, but I'm going to do that. I want this." And that's a dilemma that you find in lots of transformations and lots of organizations, that you have brave people, or you have people that want to do something, but you have others, like the experienced one and also the powerful ones, that don't necessarily either not understand it or don't want it. So it's a dilemma that you find in lots of organizations when thinking about transformations, that you need first to create a kind of literacy for this topic, so that everyone understands this. And especially in the connections between suppliers and headquarters, like brands and suppliers, you find this very often, that there is a mismatch between understanding the right technology in combination with the processes. You need to upskill, of course, your workforce, and you need the right skills in software and other applications in order to match this together, like the people, the processes, and the right technology. You have to accept that in this organization, you have front runners like me in 1987, and you have laggards also, and there's nothing bad about this. It's a different mindset that you have to convince on this journey. People are scared of technology sometimes because they fear of losing their jobs, or that they don't understand this anymore, especially power people. And some people cannot feel 3D also, to be fair. Digital is not like physical. It's not the same. And sometimes people have a mixed feeling about this, what they want to actually keep real and what they can do in digital, especially in design matters. Now, in engineering, this is not an issue anymore for long. I mean, in mechanical engineering, in automotive engineering, you see digital twins of your organization a lot. This is just normal. You make simulations long before the factory is built. And one of the, I should say, superstars in manufacturing and creating lean manufacturing facilities is Tesla now. I don't know if you have seen the latest Investor Day presentation of them, but they are planning a new factory in Mexico, which will be 40% smaller than the current factories. Now, in order to shrink a factory 40%, you cannot do this and then make some trials and whatnot. You have to completely simulate everything up front, optimize digitally, and then you start deploying this in your physical world. So in this case, the digital twin in engineering, in other industries, is quite advanced. In the apparel industry, not so much. I've seen very few companies who actually make simulations, or who would actively try something first in digital to then do it in physical. Now, these are again some pictures here from the factory in Hugo Boss factory in Izmir, and we did a lot of experimentation here, especially with 3D printing. And we found out that when we design attachments to machines, for example, in 3D first, and at this attach a 3D printer to it, it was a very easy way and a very cheap way also to double check if this is going to work or not. We could even replace spare parts with digital printed, 3D printed parts, or as you see in the foot here, on the lower left side, you see a picture of a foot of a sewing machine for stitching, top stitching of pipings here, which we just designed according to the digital the design of this product, and we just 3D printed it, and off we went. So it's a very hands-on methodology to do digital developments, and it saves a lot of money when you do this and when you implement this. It's not so easy, takes time for sure, but it's something that is worth thinking about in your own journey. Yes, and there's something that's very important here that I cannot emphasize enough on, which is digital trust. As I said, I just came back from Dubai from this conference, and we had discussions with cement companies, fertilizers, aluminium, also apparel, from suit to textiles and whatnot. And they all these digital activities in these factories and organizations, billion-dollar organizations, suffer from digital trust, missing digital trust. There's lots and lots of handwritten memos and lists and whatever in these organizations. At the same time, you find digital information. Now, if this is not matching to each other, then people start creating their own realities, so to say. So they have something handwritten, but then they turn it into a personal Excel sheet or whatsoever. And what you see here is the result of one of my clients here from Sri Lanka, and we turned this list, this handwritten, incomplete list, into Power BI feature here, which is about downtime, and we reduced their downtime by 60%. Because we created this trust and speed in a digital format that you could not escape anymore. You cannot get. You can enlist, in this case, you cannot get a mechanic before doing this, entering this into this database. So creating a digital trust is also speeding up your processes quite significantly. Now, there's the finance thing, and that is something I can only touch quickly here. But I guess one thing is very important here, which is like, if you don't connect your digital transformation journey and what other people call Industry 4.0 to the finance department, it will be very tough to justify investments. And the reason for this is, and I'm stating this here, like, how old is your CEO? The people in power, and remember my master that I talked about before, the people in power are typically not trained in digital. They went to business schools, they learned everything about numbers, they know everything about the markets, they learned lots about marketing and whatnot, but digital is not really their home turf. So they have to make decisions based on something that they cannot really feel. And that's very tough. I tell you, I'm 59, so I know what I'm talking about. It's not so easy that when people start talking about AI and whatnot, this is not really in my heart. I didn't grow up. I had to go to libraries to find books to read and learn something. And my kids have never seen a library, so to say. They never went there to learn something. They just Google it or whatsoever. So we have this dilemma of the power over the purse and the finance, and then the others who run projects that these people cannot understand. So you want to make sure that this is very close together, at least when in understanding matters. It's a very important part of your journey that you need to connect this. You need to have a clear picture about what you want to have and how to see this later in the P&L. And you should go into other industries, not copycat your competitor, because honestly speaking, your competitor's CEO is as smart as you are. When you are in one field and they are in another field and they are in the same industry, they compete with each other. I've seen this many times here in the automotive industry when comparing Porsche with BMW, with Mercedes, and then along comes a startup from California and disrupts the whole market. How is this possible? Because Elon Musk didn't come from the automotive industry, and he also didn't come from the aerospace industry, and that's why he's disrupting this part as well with SpaceX. So you should also look into other areas. Processes is a very important part. I can only emphasize on this: don't digitize your analog processes. First, you dig into your processes and you try to really deeply understand this. I always say, like, clean the mess, because when you don't do this, when you digitize what you have, you will have a digital mess and an analog mess. So this is not helping you anything. This is not an easy thing for sure, but I can tell you that this is a homework that you must do. You first clean what you do in your physical part and in your physical way. Then you move on towards your digital journey, and then you try to optimize this in different ways. But it's a very important part, because what you physically see, what I see on my desk here, it's very easy to sort out and to clean. But what I see digital, I get immediately lost when I'm in my file structure and whatnot. So it's not such an easy thing. That's a very important part about processes. There's also another thing about your workforce. Your workforce will, the new workforce, the new employees coming in, they are entering the metaverse world. We are talking about Web3 in the moment a lot. Many people still think this is a fancy thing, has more to do with online gaming and such, but it has not. There will be a whole second ecosystem in digital competing against physical, and that's a very important part here, competing, because when you have $1, then this generation will decide if they are going to spend it online or offline. This, for example, this is an online collection of clothes from Moncler. Moncler is an Italian luxury brand, and they sell these clothes only on Fortnite. This is just fashion for your avatars in a digital online game. So when you are a player here, then you spend money for your wardrobe physically to go out and wherever, play and party, and you spend money for your digital closet and use it in your online gaming world. That's a very important part of this speed, because digital clothes are much easier to scale. I mean, once you have decided you have designed this and put it in an online store at Fortnite, millions of people literally can buy this. But physically, you can't. You cannot just easily scale your production up as you wish. So that's a big thing that's in its early days, but it's coming in the next years as a big wave. Coming back to the Wednesday story, of course, people were thinking like, can we have a Fortnite Wednesday attire maybe? And they didn't do it yet. But there were people like designers, you see on the red side, they said like, okay, if I would play Fortnite in a Wednesday clothes and a dress, then I would look like this. And there was another company, they did this actually. There are people in Minecraft creating avatars that relate to the Wednesday story. So you see how this is influencing each other, right? I mean, you have trends, and then you have reactions from markets. And if you are not fast enough and agile enough in your organization to cope with this, then you're out of this business. And they make a lot of money in this business. So you could say like, okay, what if I don't? What if I just don't care about this? Well, of course you can do this. I mean, you can just maintain what you do, and probably if you are successful, you will do this for a while. Just the others are moving. And I want to draw your attention here to the lower right side, which is the digital fashion market. They expect the digital fashion in 2021, it was about 120 million. So it's a reasonable business, but small. But in 2027, it will be $67.6 billion. It's a CAGR of close to 190%. Which means like this is really this is a phenomenal rise in business value. And if you do physical and as I just said, if this is a digital business and you do physical and you're not fast enough to cope with this, then you will be out of this business opportunity. So from my point of view, you cannot miss this trend. You must digitize and flexibilize your organization. This is even more important, the flexibilization part, with digital means and digital tools in order to stay relevant in your business. Now, what is Industry 4.0? I'm asked very often about what is this, and there's one part you find a lot of explanations on Wikipedia, but I like this here very much because it says it involves a strong customization of products under the conditions of highly flexible production. Some people talk about order size 1. I wouldn't go that far like order size 1, but if there's a big difference in your organization and your manufacturing landscape, if you have one order for 100,000 t-shirts, or you have 100 orders times 1,000 t-shirts. You cannot just have 100 more people sitting in your offices entering data. You get mad you will run out of cost, and time. So you will have to find ways, technical ways and digital ways, to cope with complexity. And complexity can also be market reactions, like what I said in the beginning of Shein. So that's something that you need to invest in. And there is something that I just want, I cannot talk too much about this, but we are going to have a workshop, a digital and physical workshop in August in Mumbai, that I will talk a lot about this principle here. Because you will need to identify the different digital twins of your organization. At Hugo Boss, we call it MPPP. Like, what is the twin of your machine park, of your people, of your processes and your product? And the thing is, what you want to realize is you want to have added value. It's not 1 on 1 on 1 and 1 is 4. You want to make it 5. And how to do that, we are going to talk a lot about in this workshop that is upcoming in August. So the step 1, that I'm just a quick summary of what you should do and how to tackle this challenge here is, step 1 is you should make an honest assessment of your own organization. No wish list, but who you really are, because otherwise you will dig into something and you will step into digital investments that attract you the most, but that's not necessarily creating value in your P&L. So make an honest assessment. The next step is you must define a clear North Star, because otherwise your organization will not understand it. You must explain it to everyone. It's not enough to have a vision and a mission statement, and it's not enough to have a North Star that the executive team knows about. I do this every time when I work with clients. I go into the shop floor and ask the regular people on the shop floor, like, what is your strategy here? What is the digital strategy here? What are you doing? What are your means? What are your tools that you work with? What about information and such? And when I get a good answer, then I know that the strategy made it to the shop floor, to the execution. That's a good thing. But you should do this also for yourself. The step 3 is then implement consistently. And that is really an important part, that you don't want to have these giant whatever steps and go live scenarios which scare everyone, but you want to consistently implement small experiments that play out well in your P&L. That's a very important part that also I'm going to talk about in this workshop. Now, one thing that you should do also is not just thinking like, oh, it was an interesting presentation. Yeah, it was interesting to stay here. Do something with it. That's why I'm always asking this question. What will be the first thing that you are going to change this week or next Monday or whatsoever? It's a very important part that you turn ideas into tangible, executable actions, because this is what creates the value. Everything else is academia, is entertainment or edutainment. I mean, you can learn a lot about digital, means nothing if you don't turn it into tangible aspects that you can see in your P&L. That was it from my side. I hope that you have a fantastic, I guess I was a little bit, I spent too much time here, so I should stop here. So I wish you many fruitful discussions around this topic. Wish you all the best. Maybe some of you I will see in August in Mumbai. To be seen. If you want to be in touch with me, you can do that for sure here. Wishing you all the best and much success in the event that you are right now in. Take care.